For this practice facial feature, we're going to be doing the nose on gray paper. So I'm going to go ahead and play the time lapse of that. Starting out, I'm just beginning with the simple basic outlines of form. So I just started with outlining the nose there, the outside, and inside I'm drawing circles to represent that form, and then trying to go in and outline where the shadows and highlights are. So there's a big shadow on the right side of the nose here that's going to take up a lot of space, so I'm just looking at the shape and outlining that, as well as the highlight that's along the left side of the nose, and just trying to really refine those simple forms that I started with. So I started with those 3 circles, and then now I'm outlining them and adding detail around the nose there. And I'm starting out with the black charcoal. We're going to eventually be adding the white, and I'm just trying to go through and start to work with the detail. Now remember that you can choose any of the styles of shading that you want to use on this. All right. Video, we're going to work on using black and white charcoal to really create a lot of contrast in your drawing. You can choose whichever facial feature you struggle with the most, just to get extra practice outlining it. For me, it's the nose. I think it's one of the most difficult features to draw because there's a lot that goes into getting the proportions and everything laid out just right. So I'm going back in with that, and then cross-hatching is what I'm going to be using for shading, but you can choose any of those styles that you would most like to use for your final portrait. So I'm starting the video over here. That's the time lapse of drawing the nose with the black charcoal, and then eventually adding highlights with the white charcoal. But I'm starting out with just the simple basic form, doing 3 small circles at the bottom here, and then starting to slowly add the detail. And I'm going to outline where the darkest shadows are first, and then this large shadow on the right side of the nose that takes up a lot of space, I'm just lightly outlining along with the highlights. So I'm going in and looking for that area on the left side of the nose over here that's the highlight or the lightest area. If you're having trouble seeing which sections are light versus dark, it definitely helps to squint your eyes and look quickly back and forth between your drawing and then the reference picture that you're working off of. But starting out, when I begin to shade, I'm looking for the darkest areas first, and I'm going to build the layers, so I'm shading fairly lightly. I decided to do cross contour on this nose because I think the cross contour really helps to emphasize the form of the nose. So you can create those lines going in the direction that brings that nose to life, gives it a little bit more dimension there. And then I'm bringing those lines across, following the curve of the nose, trying to fill in again all of the shadows first, and just continuing to layer the value. And that's going to really help to show the medium values and then the dark values. And then in a minute, we're going to work on the lighter values as well. Remember too to use the kneaded eraser if you need to go in and erase anything or lighten up your highlight if you shade over it a little bit. I'm also, when I'm drawing the nose, putting in that shadow that goes around the eye right here, because I think that's important to make sure that the nose fits in the space that it's surrounding. So don't only pay attention to the outline of the nose, but what's going around it. What do the shadows look like on the outside too? And I'm using that kneaded eraser, just bringing those highlights back, finalizing some of the shadows. And once you add the white charcoal, you can go back and darken some of those areas. But now I'm going over the lightest highlights first. So I'm looking for these spots on the nose that stand out the most. I'm still using cross-hatching, so I'm keeping that blending style consistent. And I'm just shading over the medium values and then the highlights, just trying to really bring out the form and dimension. And try to go back and forth with both. So at the end of that video, you saw me going back with the darker charcoal, and that's going to help to push the form and contrast. So just find those darkest spots, make sure that they are completely black, and then the lightest spots are completely white, and try to blend those into the medium values.